Thank you. Okay. Have you got any apologies for the meeting?
Only from Somerset Councillor Hart, Your Worship, owing to feeling unwell.
Thank you. Any declarations of interest that haven't already been made? Okay. Next is to approve the signed minutes of the last meeting. Have you got? I've got a copy in front.
Should be. They're only black and white. You might as well. You can sign a black and white copy. That doesn't make a difference. They were circulated in advance, Your Worship. Copy up on the board. I'll give those ones a little look through. Don't believe there were any queries in advance of the meeting, Your Worship.
Okay. Any comments on page 42? Yes, ma'am.
I was just wondering what the action, it says, receive an update on the actions from the last meeting. He updated us on what the actions were, and I was wondering what those actions were that were updated on.
Oh, well, they'd have been the ones from, give me a second. So what, that's the minutes of the December meeting, so it would have been the actions from November. Which they would be in here. They would be... Oh, right, in there. Oh yeah, they are, they are. Those actions would have been, Councillor Ronnie Dougal, that the Assistant Town Clerk was to email regarding the West Mendip Hospital bus stop. The Town Council was support the soup kitchen with the amount from our grants budget that wasn't covered by our external funding, and that the Roadside Dwellers Working Group were going to look at the parking on Roman Way.
Thank you. So what's happening with regard to the West Mendip Hospital bus stop? Has anything happened yet?
Everyone and their mother seems to be trying to get money for that bus stop. Councillor Cameron is trying to seek maybe a Section 106 agreement to secure funding. We are also looking at additional quotes, because it's a level of expenditure we need additional quotes, and a member of the team in the office has been tasked with getting extra quotes for potential bus stops, so work ticks away on that one by various parties.
That needed updating on. Thank you very much.
Were there any other comments on page 43?
So.
Move on to page 44, item 192. I wondered whether the clerk could give us some feedback on the proposed making a community asset of the red brick building, and also tell the council about what's happened with Bridie's Farm, if that's appropriate.
Thank you. Yes, so I submitted those applications the day after the meeting, which were both received. There is a statutory time frame that Somerset Council consider those applications, and I believe we're probably still in that window. I was contacted about the council's nomination for Bridie's Farm, and actually advised that because of legal work happening to try and separate the land for the farm from the red brick building in order to try and protect it from any action that may or may not happen in the future, I was actually advised by the very highest levels of Somerset Council that our application was a hindrance to that process. So I was asked to revoke that application, as I said, from the very, very highest levels of Somerset Council, as in Chief Executive high. So in consultation with a few councillors, I did revoke that application so that the legal work that is already in progress at Somerset Council in regard to that land could continue without any additional hindrance from that application. So that application was withdrawn, but the application for the red brick building site, as it is on its the land registry documents the entire red line plan, there is still an application in with Somerset Council at the moment. I can chase for an update, but I haven't had any update between making the application and now.
Right, reply, Councillor Cousins.
Thank you, Your Worship. Well, thank you very much for updating us. I'd just like to say two things. One is that to reiterate that I'm a shareholder in the Red Brick Building, which means it's very close to my heart, despite what some people say. And secondly, that the removal of the application for community asset for Hyde Farm, could the clerk just confirm that that was in agreement and supported by the members of Bride's Farm as an organisation?
Yes, Councillor Cousins, because I was advised as the outcome of a meeting between officers of the highest level at Somerset Council and members of the project at Bridie's Farm that withdrawal of that application was the best thing at that time to allow the legal work to continue. So yes, that was in every party's interest, and they had mutually agreed to that, and I did so in consultation with councillors as well.
So can I accept the minutes of the last meeting as a true record? Update on actions from the last meeting, so this is the December one.
Of course, Your Worship, I just shut the document I'm going to need to refer to, so give me just a moment, if you please, to go back to it. So actions from the last meeting. So we were to advertise for nominations regarding the community awards. That has been done. The advertisements are out, and we are actively seeking nominations and receiving them. There is a third-party markets working group has been set up, and they will report to the Property and Assets Committee meeting. Nominate Red Brick Building and Bridie's Farm as assets of community value. We've just had an update on that, Your Worship. There was an action for yourself, Your Worship, to write regarding the community train link. I don't know whether you'd had a chance over Christmas, New Year to do that. If not, we can discuss after this meeting, and pass on a thanks to staff members involved with various projects, which staff are always very appreciative when they are recognised by the council.
Thank you, Your Worship. From what you just said, Connor, do we know whether we are chasing a solvent company or an insolvent company?
I don't believe we're chasing anyone, Councillor Napper. What are you referring to?
I'm referring to the red brick buildings and all that, because what we're being told is that they're insolvent, and I would like to know whether they are insolvent or are they not. I'm
afraid that's not a question for myself, Councillor Napper. I haven't got anything to do with Red Brick Building. I can't answer that question.
Is it possible to find out the answer to that?
Oh, I don't feel it's necessarily my place, Councillor Napper.
Okay.
Councillor Cameron.
Your Worship, I've had lots of conversations, as you're aware, with Red Brick Building colleagues. The insolvency report has yet to be finished. So we did anticipate it before Christmas. My anticipation is that it's within the next 2 weeks or so before that's completed, so that should answer our councillor's question.
Yeah. My understanding is that Red Brick Board are working with an insolvency advisory professional.
Well, if I can't answer that question here, then where can I ask it?
I don't think it's available. That is possible. Okay. To note the latest crime statistics, actually receive an update from the police. I will just make one point about that. So the comment that came a little while ago about police being in the meeting. The police are always in the meeting, but often they just don't turn up. So if they're not on duty, they can't be here. But for years, we have had the latest crime statistics report and an update from the police as standard items on our agenda.
I was just following on from that, kind of reiterating what I was saying earlier on about public participation. If somebody had said the police are always here at meetings, that clarifies that statement.
I was going to.
Because we didn't say anything, it sounds like the police being here is an unusual event. And it's not. So we've got to kind of get our communication good so people know what's going on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, but there are so many in that list of things that actually could be answered, and they have been answered. And I think what they were referring to, the police in meeting, I think that was doing the World Heritage Museum.
No, it was cancelled. I read the email, so this is just a point of clarity. Read the email, it was really disturbed that the council thought it was necessary to have the police in the meeting.
Are you sure?
Yeah, no, I know.
No.
It was a council meeting.
Just to clarify, Chair. Yeah, I agree there's too many things we can deal with on the night, but there's got to be a way that we can clarify our position so people don't think what's said out there is exactly the gospel truth.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Right. Next item is
are there any questions on the latest police stats?
Councillor.
I don't know if I'm jumping ahead, but in the pack that came out, there's some CCTV stuff. Is that part of this report as well? Or is that separate to this?
I received that from Somerset Council, Your Worship. We are due, as part of our service level agreement, quarterly updates on the performance of the CCTV service. That was an update that I just put in the folder. I thought was the most efficient way to give to councillors. If you have any comments, I would appreciate them. I think we could do with a bit more detail than some pie charts. But I am due to go meet the CCTV team in Bridgewater for a CCTV service open day sometime in February, so I can take any feedback back to them. But that was just some updates from the CCTV service in terms of what they've done in relation to Glastonbury.
Yes,
so is this the opportunity now to talk about that? Or is that
that's very much up to His Worship, Councillor Manning.
I don't think I've seen that document, Yeah.
Okay, we received these documents. I found them exceedingly misleading, in that there seemed to be a lot of double counting. It was like there were 6 incidents reported, but that becomes all these other things. Because some of the things were, obviously, people were doing different things. So it's like in one of the slides, it jumps up to 13. So I didn't find the exit very useful as a
Okay, right. One thought on that, we can put that to the crime centre reduction committee, and we can actually ask those because we should have police presence there.
I would also ask, it is in the folder, if councillors have any other comments, please email them to me and I will forward them to the service director, and when I have that meeting with them down in Bridgewater in February, I will raise that. I'm not surprised you've given those comments, and it'll be interesting to see what other councils who pay into the service have given in terms of feedback based on these reports as well.
I understand some communities have updated the quality of their CCTV, and I wonder whether we can do that.
Okay, we're on the good ones. I went and had a visit over there in October or November, and the day I was there with Brian Nick from Street, and Street was just getting, they were on the old analog ones, and they were just getting theirs replaced that day. So he and I were looking at Street Market, so it was on a Thursday. So the quality of everything has improved. I think all of the Glastonbury runs off in
Okay, so it wasn't on the report that I read that we had got the updated. So perhaps it's a long time ago. I don't know. I'm just raising it.
So, Your Worship, when we started to pay into the CCTV service, Glastonbury's cameras were actually some of the best in the old Mendip area. They were the most up-to-date version, highest quality, and all of ours were actually working, which for our neighbours over in the street, they had physically more cameras. It was a bad quality and only one of them was working. So actually the quality of Glastonbury's cameras is fine. The council may want to consider at some point if it wants to add additional cameras, but the cameras that we have are working and are good quality.
Thank you for those. Anything else? Councillor Campbell.
Your Worship, councillors, for your information, on Friday last, I posted the new Somerset Council officer who is going to be moving forward with our PSPO, and took him on a visit around town centre in order to get actual eyes on. He's just been recruited from Glastonbury, from Gloucester, the city of, where he informed me that he had been able to reduce antisocial behaviour by some 90 to 95% in that overall. He did talk about other possibilities other than just pure PSPO, which he's going to explore with the police as well.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Cousins?
Just on the issue that Councillor Henderson raised around people's perception of what the council can do during the meetings and public participation, would it not be wise for us to record any issues or casually, obviously not part of the minutes of the meeting, but to record any of the issues raised and any of the questions raised, so that those could be answered as part of the minuted section of either this council, full council, or an appropriate committee of the council, so that the folk that do spend time coming into public participation do get some response from us, which I think is due. In my role, I have to, as a working role where I get paid, I have to visit other parish council meetings, and I may say that if there's one person in participation or even just at the meeting who's not a member of the council, it's a phenomenon. So the fact that people feel that they can come and talk to us and hope that we will listen to them and respond to us is a very good thing for us as a group. And I think that it is about time that we did attempt at least to try and respond constructively to some of the issues raised. I know that other things are put forward to the council in writing, etc. But it might be a thing for us to be mindful of, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Cousins. Councillor Cook?
Yeah, in response to that, I mean, in all fairness, there's a lot of contention at the moment. Very a vast array of things. So there's no wonder we're getting quite a lot of attention from the public at the minute, which is very, very good to see. I have to say. I mean, some very eloquent speakers, very good points. When you consider that the information that everybody else is working to, is trying to find out, which some of it just doesn't exist. No, and I think they're doing a great job. And also, it demonstrates the absolute love of this town. You know, very strongly, very firmly, no hesitations whatsoever, no fear. Coming here, you know, make their speeches, and I think it's absolutely marvellous. So, but to start recording it because we think something is contentious and setting up a committee, I think that's just the absolute worst thing I can ever think of. To do that. Well, that's what John says.
Okay, thank you. Yes, please do, Councillor Cousins.
Now, what I was saying is that the issues are recorded that can be dealt with by the appropriate committee of this council, be it this council itself, this meeting, or one of the other committees, not to set up a new committee. I do apologise if I was not clear enough in what I said to councillors.
Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is the schedule of payments. So hopefully you've all read it or digested it, and I'm sure it will be on the board or the screen.
I don't believe we had any queries in advance of the meeting, Your Worship.
Councillor Mann?
Got one query about item 6412, which is a refund to Mark Adair, who spoke to us council at one of the recent meetings. My understanding is that this is in respect of a meeting which you called to talk about the housing development on Morgan's Road, car park. And the meeting was cancelled because Asper had withdrawn. Now, in many respects, this is almost like a bit of consultation that really should have been done 6 months, 12 months earlier by Somerset Council, and they didn't do it. So a resident has taken on themselves to raise awareness of this. And I feel that, very saddened that she's had to pay 75% of the cost of this.
Sorry, just a request for clarity, which item are we looking at?
6412.
Are there any other queries, Your Worship?
No, I don't think so. Councillor Cook.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I remember you. Number 6388. Purchase and renovation of electric vehicles. Can I just ask? I appreciate this.
Sorry, Councillor Cook, which report are you looking at? Are you looking at the budget monitoring report? Not quite.
Yeah, I'll come to it.
We have to.
So I will suffice if the councillors agree, and then if yourself and Deputy Mayor could please sign a copy.
Yeah, right. So I will thank you. Just have a
Thank you.
And now we can do budget monitoring report. This is a rather lengthy document, I imagine.
Shall I get one?
Okay, yes, Councillor Cook.
Yeah, right, okay. I'm not going to start again. But 6388, that's not looking at. Yes, 6388, yeah. Personal renovation. Now, you said just by clarifying this with Mike this afternoon, but just for assurances, the roof is going to cost £70,000.
No.
Sorry, that's what you said the last meeting.
Nope.
Okay.
I said I'd attracted funding of up to £75,000.
Right.
Don't know how much the work's going to cost yet.
So you've got funding for £7,000 for the roof.
Strengthening of the roof, yes.
To put solar panels on.
Yes.
Well, shouldn't the solar? I mean, normally the solar company would put that on. They source their own roofers and put it on.
So it's being done through the town deal, Councillor Cook.
Yeah,
More,
so it is.
more,
It's coming from the town deal.
more than happy to have a conversation outside of the meeting about it and explain it to you.
That's all right. No, that's okay. We're taking word for that the town deal is paying that £70,000 for the roof.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool, that's fine.
Up to.
Yeah. Up to. Yeah.
This is just for noting, Your Worship, if there's no other questions.
Okay. No other questions? No, thank you. No. No, it was just noting. Oh, Councillor.
Going past that building.
Which building?
The bakery.
Oh, yeah.
Bakery building. I note that the lights are on. Whether someone working in there or not, I don't know. But the lights were on tonight at I don't know, 5 o'clock-ish.
Somerset Council own that building, but I'll ask the question, Councillor Napper.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Any update on asset and service devolution
No, Your Worship, still waiting for Somerset Council's legal team to progress the freehold transfers of the bits of land that we're looking to take on.
Thank you. Update on St Dunstan's House, Open Mulberry Centre.
The audio-visual equipment arrived yesterday, Your Worship. Humongous boxes in the former Town Council office. So all of that equipment is being installed next week and the week after. Bookings are starting to pick up. And yeah, continuing with sorting out the snagging with the contractors and just getting everything finally fully ready, Your Worship. So ticking along quite well overall.
Yeah. By pure chance, I happened to meet down with the architect yesterday at the TP, so we'll talk about that.
Sure.
Councillor.
Thank you, Your Worship. There's a lot of, I think, probably deserved concern around aspects of the town deal project, and people are wanting to know about how Somerset approves certain things without perhaps doing as much due diligence as they should have done. And I wonder whether we have a town deal project. If a member of our community wanted to know how much money was spent on the town deal project and could find out some of that information about how the atrium and St Dunstan's House has been amazingly well renovated and the project's been, in my mind, a great success, how they would find out that information.
Okay, we've got a town deal board meeting next week, I believe, this is next week, so we can raise those questions there.
Just coming back quickly to the previous Aston Surrey's division, I seem to remember last month we were also waiting for the legal team.
We were.
I just wonder if there's any deadlines or urgency from our side, or if we are happy waiting. Who knows, as long as it takes.
We are maintaining the land under maintenance agreements, and actually, if anything, the longer we don't own it, it reduces our liability. For example, there was a fence that was brought down up on Windmill Hill, and because we don't yet own it, that was repaired/replaced by Somerset Council, who still own the land. So we are going to the expense of obviously maintaining, cutting the grass, maintaining play equipment. Because it's not ours yet, there are some costs that we haven't incurred. There's no deadline. The maintenance agreement is fit for purpose. We've got the equipment, we've got the staff. We're working not at Windmill Hill, but more with a view at Abbey Park on starting to scope play park equipment improvements. And that's not a piece of land we would get the freehold of anyway. But the fact that we don't own the freehold isn't impacting anything that we're doing. And if anything, it's just reducing our liability at the moment. So no deadlines. Quite happy to wait for Somerset Council's legal team.
During the Veterinary Resource Centre, we've got uses lined up for it, so there may be some more urgency there.
In view of the delay in the assets coming our way, the recent bad weather that we've had, there are a lot of trees that may be adversely affected by the high winds. Would it be prudent to, as Somerset, before they transfer, to do a tree survey, brief tree survey, and identify any dangerous trees before they're handed over to us, and therefore not for the town council not to incur extra expense that is not our not due to on our watch, so to speak.
Thank you, Councillor Smythe. The last tree survey that I have been given a copy of was, I believe, dated summer of last year. So depending on the length of the delay, yes, we will ask for an updated copy of that. The Town Council has, it's an item later on the agenda, we have added a budget line for tree works in the future because it's not something we've had to particularly do in a structured manner in the past because we haven't had an adequate amount of land to have, say, a contract for tree maintenance. We've looked after trees on the bits of land that we have on we've kept on top of them, but we've not needed regular surveys because they haven't necessarily been on too much public land. So that's an item that I'm going to raise to the council's attention in the next agenda item, or the agenda item to discuss the budget. But yes, depending on the length of the delay, particularly if it goes toward a year or past a year when that last tree survey was done, yes, we will ask for an updated condition report for those trees and for any major defects found to be rectified before we take on the freehold.
Thank you.
Got that in hand.
Just to clarify that a dangerous tree can be identified by a member of the public.
Someone would like to report it to Somerset Council? They are very welcome, Councillor Smythe.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item is to consider the draft budget and the preset demand recommendation from Finance and General Purposes Committee. I know many of us were on that Finance and General Purposes Committee, so hopefully you're familiar with what's coming.
So, what I shall do, Your Worship, I will briefly go over some of the budget lines that since the finance meeting have changed to bring them to the Council's attention. Then we'll look at the summary sheet and I'll quite happily take any questions, but it was gone into in a lot of detail at finance and I'm hoping people have had an opportunity to read it in advance of the meeting. So in the operating expenses section of the budget, there is a new budget line that's been added since the finance meeting, the one highlighted, employees' health and safety requirements. So that we've added £1,000 into that budget line, and that is for sort of health and safety related incidentals that weren't appropriately covered in the rest of the budget previously. It's not that we never had money for it, it's just there wasn't a clear budget line. We've clarified that expenditure. We scroll down. Try not to make anyone feel sick. The blue column, by the way, is next year's budget. The tour bus and other local transport schemes. So I was advised that there will be an 8% increase on the cost of our current arrangement with Mendip Community Transport for the tour bus, and that arrived in my email inbox. I think it was the day after our finance meeting, despite me emailing Mendip Community Transport a few weeks before the meeting to try and get that update. So we've added that 8% uplift. That is why that cell is highlighted. I think there's only one more, Your Worship. Nominal code 6386. We've updated the title of the nominal code. We haven't updated any figures, but that's just a change in the title of that nominal code in the town improvements and projects expenditure area. Play park maintenance, we have reduced because we've hardly spent anything this year, because actually the play equipment, although it is out of date, that is in Glastonbury, it hasn't required any specialist maintenance through the year, and our team of skilled outdoor staff have actually been able to rectify issues without necessarily buying expensive parts or incurring call-out fees from manufacturers to make sure that the play equipment remains safe, which is inspected every week. Can I just carry on, Your Worship, and then we'll take questions in one lump, if that's okay? Play Park Tree Works, which is what I just referred to with Councillor Smythe, because most of the trees we're taking on are in play parks. That is anticipated to be an annual contract with an arboricultural, whatever they're called, to have the trees annually inspected or biannually or every 3 years, and for works to be done. That's something that this council's never had to do before. That's a roundup of the changes since the finance meeting, Your Worship, and obviously happy to answer questions on the budget more generally and also the changes.
Thank you, Your Worship. In light of the information that we were told about in public participation around the step Pride and Thrive and the Avalon Market, and looking at our general community expenses, service expenses, particularly the tour bus, and luckily it says, and other local transport schemes, is there any merit, even at this late date, this council considering perhaps another £3,000 in there to help sustain the Avalon Marshes route? If we don't budget it, exactly. And if we showed willing tonight, perhaps Councillor Napper could let Street Council know just how enthusiastic Glastonbury is about this, and perhaps they will do the same.
Councillor Kirk?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, you mentioned play parks.
Yeah.
And looking at the equipment and maintaining it, kind of thing. I got the impression. Were you talking about Abbey Park specifically, or that's all of them?
All of them, Councillor Cook.
Right. And can I just reiterate that, as far as I understand it, the Abbey Park play equipment there actually is still green light.
All of the play equipment in Glastonbury, Councillor Cook, is safe.
Yeah, green light.
Safe. Yeah. Yes.
Good.
It's all safe.
Okay, that's good. And that's going on inspections of this year?
They're done annually.
Yep.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, but
It's inspected by an independent company annually, and it's inspected by our trained staff every single week.
Yeah, when's the traffic license?
July, August?
Yeah, it's in the summer. It's
Yeah,
July
July,
/ August.
Okay, so the next one's not due till then?
No.
No.
Councillor Snow?
Following on from Councillor Cousins' remark and concern about £6,500 required to continue the Avon Marshes experiment for another 6 months, I'd like to support that idea. And wondered whether that 6,500 can be found in any of the budget lines, possibly could be found in the tour bus and other local transport schemes. I think that's 17,500. If so, either way, I'd like to propose that we support that and somehow in some budget line find that £6,500. Better without a second after we've found where we can get it.
I second that.
Clarification, we were talking about half of the street, so we want to the full 6.5, or would we looking for 3.1?
I wasn't sure whether it was 6.5, half of 13 or whether.
They asked for 6.5 altogether.
Okay.
Between Glastonbury Street and Middle idea.
If we increase line 6610, tour bus and other local transport schemes, rather than 8% by 20%, I do believe that would give us enough funding, more or less, to cover what has been asked of us tonight. My consciousness is that they said that the deadline was very tight. 9th of February. If we don't talk about this now, your worship,
we've missed it.
Yeah.
Can we just do a proposal and debate on it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, in terms of the comment, find it within that budget line, you can't find it within that budget line because that is the cost of what we're already doing. You can add to that budget line. What I might suggest, so this financial year, there is an underspend on your grant budget of £1,503. So what I would suggest is that perhaps gets earmarked toward the amount for an up to amount that someone is yet to propose for this project next year. And either what you decide to do is, so let's for round figures say that you are going to put, this is not a suggestion in the slightest, up to £3,000 aside for this project, just in interest of round figures. And there is an underspend of 1,500 from this year. What I would suggest is that, so this on the board is next year, you reduce your grants budget line by the other amount that you need, £1,500. So you take your grants budget line down from 20 to £18,500, and you put then the underspend from this year and £1,500 from your grant budget next year aside for that project if the council is so willing. And I'm not suggesting that the number you put back is 3,000. That was in the interest of round figures to explain my thinking, your worship. It's up to the council.
Councillor Mann and Councillor Evans.
I think it's right with the Devon Marshes, but I do wish that it was actually given what the public need. You know, at this time of year, people are flocking to Devon Marshes late afternoon. I've been out there and it's hardly anywhere to park because there's cars everywhere. That's when the buses should be running. And I think they'd make a killing. You know, if they were running buses at that time of year, that would give them enough money to
not have to come to us for another 3,000. Councillor.
Thank you for the right to return to this, Your Worship. I hear what the clerk is saying, and I think that there's merit in that. My own feeling is that if we were to just increase that budget line 6610 by 20% rather than by 8%, we would cover all eventualities, and we would then still have a slush fund of 1,000 something in community grants, which may be useful elsewhere.
Is that possible?
It's possible, Your Worship. The Finance and General Purposes Committee was very keen to try and build our financial resilience and increase our reserves above the minimum level that they are sat at. And if we keep eating away into what little headroom there is in this budget in terms of money that is being collected, not necessarily allocated for a particular purpose other than to bolster the town council's financial resilience in the case that something unexpected may happen. Yes, you can. It would be mine and I presume the responsible finance officer's advice, who will correct me if I'm wrong, that we would prefer that you try and build your reserves as the committee would like and we have recommended, and that actually you use an underspend and reduce your grant budget line, because in effect it is a grant, by the amount that you need to top up the underspend from this year, so that you don't affect the bottom line of the increase to residents, but also increasing this council's financial resilience should something unexpected happen, which it has happened in the past.
Thank you.
Happy to give way to you.
Thank you. So are you proposing that we do this, Councillor Cousins?
Yes.
I had Councillor Smythe and Councillor Osborne sort of jumped in with a proposal in a second, but they didn't give an up to figure, Your Worship. I don't know whether you wish to ask Councillor Osborne and then Councillor Smythe if between them they have an up to figure.
I don't want to let street completely off the hook.
No,
Absolutely not.
The bottom line is they've got much money, but I am absolutely rigid about trying to get buses, as many buses as possible. So I mean, I don't know if you can't in front of him, but sort of say £3 grand. But, no, not really. Say £3 grand, but giving the other three street can do it. But Terry mustn't tell them that.
Thoughts, Councillor Smythe?
I understand we've got 1,500 coming from grants funding.
So there is an underspend in this year's budget for grants of £1,503.
We're in another 2,000.
That would make 3,500.
Yeah, so I'd say 2,000.
Right, so are you proposing that you reduce the grants budget line from 20,000 to 18,000 and we add that amount into this budget line and we use the underspend? So it would end up being, that would be 3,500.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Councillor Cook?
I haven't been on this bus route yet, but I've got to go. But can you tell me where does it go in street? Does it have a lot of input there to street?
Did you get a leaflet?
No, I haven't.
So
it does. So it does. So it's all part and finished here.
Your glasses
Right,
on.
okay. Are they really?
Right, so we've got.
So the thing is, all I'm going to say is Terry Booth's on is that he's proposed it and they'll second it, that's for sure.
I think we've got multiple proposers and multiple seconders. And so all those in favour of doing what the clerk's said about putting the money to the grants that we understand.
Councillor Smythe proposed, Councillor Osborne seconded. You are supporting the project up to a value of £3,500.
Yeah.
You have reduced next year's grant budget line from 20,000 to 18, and you will use the underspend of £1,500 for this year, totalling £3,500, and that will be put aside for this project, and we hope that Street Parish Council will do the same.
Yeah. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? Are you abstaining?
After I've been, Your Worship, after I've been cornered, I think I'll abstain.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. One abstention. Thank you very much.
Little ladybirds.
And we'd be very happy if you passed that on to
Any other questions from councillors, Your Worship?
right, Councillor Kennedy.
Your Worship, councillors, if you recall, the train link project that we had presented to us at the previous suggested that Somerset Council has received an additional £800,000 in money for new bus routes, etc. And I just wondered whether we could explore with Richard Wilkins at Somerset Council as a sort of addendum to this particular point, to see if we can also try to get additional money from that source as well.
Thank you. Councillor McDougall.
Have we got this bit about car parks? Can I bring that up now?
If you'd like to, Councillor McDougall.
As I understand, our total car park income is expected to be 174. And expenses. Okay, I may have misread it actually, but I presume we're going to do better.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Very
Thank you very
shortly.
much.
Thank you. Councillor Lockdown.
Just a quick thing, I didn't know how much we're spending on play parks and youth is over £20,000, which I think we can be really proud of. It's something great news and celebration.
Thank you. Any other questions? Right, do we need, what do we need to do? Approve this?
Councillor McDougall has another question, Your Worship.
Okay, so I'm not used to reading these columns and columns of figures, but it looks like there's 8,000 increase in income and there's a 14,000 increase in expenses. So I thought
which part of the report you're looking at, Councillor McDougall? I can't read from. I wish my eyes were that good. Can you?
Car park section.
Right.
So I'm interested to know whether we're going to do better in the car park.
When you say do better, can you quantify that so I can give you an answer?
So that we are getting a better income from it.
I think she's concerned that expenses has
Are
gone
we
up.
going
We're
to
planning
have
to
some
reline the
increase?
car park, aren't we?
All right. So, sorry. I think the responsible finance officer has just clarified. We've budgeted for increased expenses in the car park because it needs relining. The paint is all coming. Well, the tar paint stuff on the floor is breaking up. So we're planning to spend money. But yes, also there is enforcement due to start in that car park soon, and we are hoping that therefore the income will then go up. The only reason we haven't tried to forecast and budget for that is so that we don't trip ourselves up at the end of next year, having forecasted a big increase that may or may not materialise. We hope it will. We've been advised that it will, and logic says that it will. So yes, we are hoping to do better, but the expenses have gone up because we need to reline that car park.
Thank you, just out of curiosity, we talked a while ago about the lining of the car park. Are the spaces going to be made wider?
No,
Keeping the original.
the Property and Assets Committee agreed to keep the existing layout. It's just that the lines need repainting.
Thank you.
Do we need to go around this?
Yes,
If there are any other questions, if not, what we need is a proposer and a seconder to accept the budget, and then once you accept the budget, there's the associated precept demand on the front page for.
I'd like to propose that we accept this budget and also follow the recommendations of the Financial and General Purposes Committee in setting a precept at the said amount.
Councillor Bandit, a second. All those in favour of accepting this report? Thank you. Any against? And then the abstentions. 2 abstentions.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. I will save that.
Is it worth mentioning anything about the Somerset?
Oh, I've got an update on that, Your Worship. I received a very welcome email.
Sorry, should I just clarify that it's a precept at 5%?
Yeah, so it's an increase. So yeah, it's an increase in terms of finance to the town council of 8%, but because the tax base has increased, which is the number of tax-paying households has increased, The increase to residents is 5%.
I think to summarise, we've done very well this year in keeping it so low in order not to dent the pocket of our residents too much.
And that is equivalent to a band D property will pay £6.39 per week, and that would be an increase of 30p per week. But 75% of households in Glastonbury are actually bands A to C, and I don't wish to bore anyone with how council tax is therefore calculated in ninths. 9 is the magic number when it comes to council tax. 75% of residents in Glastonbury pay less than the amount that's benchmarked on that front screen. So their council tax bill and their increase is lower than that amount, but everyone benchmarks on band D.
Just one more thing, just to clarify also for the benefits of the public, that this 5% that we've restricted it to is far better than the 11% that Somerset are going to have to increase theirs by. So I'm afraid that the meat of the increase will be Somerset.
Thank you, Councillor. The mystery letter.
Thank you, Councillor, Your Worship. So we received, I think it was very late last year, very late notice after we had our Finance and General Purposes meeting, that Somerset Council was planning to pay precepts for all town and parish councils, not just us, in 2 payments, so 50% in April and 50% in September. Mendip District Council used to do it that way. When Somerset Council was created, they began paying parishes 100% in April. Now, we hadn't set our budget and our capital programme, particularly in terms of renovations to buildings and improvements to play parks, factoring in 50% of our precept in April, 50% in September. So with the finance officer and the assistant clerk, I wrote to Somerset Council and requested that we didn't have enough time to change our budget plans, and actually could Glastonbury Town Council's precept be paid 100% in April, and we will plan for 27, 28 rather than 26, 27 to receive our money in 2 halves. I'm very pleased to say that I had an email back from one of the finance team at Somerset Council today saying that because of the letter where I outlined it would impact our capital programme, that our precept will be paid in 1 lump in April of this year, and we will plan the year after. I do think it's regrettable that all parishes and towns were told very late, and also within a letter that might have escaped their attention as it came from the leader of the council. I very nearly didn't read the letter. Very lucky that I did, because that would have been a pretty nasty surprise come April to only get half of the amount of money that we were expecting to be able to improve Glastonbury for residents, businesses and visitors alike. So pleased that for next year we will continue to receive, the next financial year, 100% in April, but we will factor that into our financial planning for the year after, that we get 50% in April, 50% in September.
Okay. Thank you. And so thanks to Councillor Cameron, because he sent that letter from Bill Revens. And it was like reading down, oops. So it really was. But yeah, thank you. Okay. And we are to consider and agree changes to the venue booking policy. I think that's our improvement, isn't it?
So, Your Worship, yeah, this is a small part of another decision that will be taken hopefully at Property and Assets in a week's time. Because we now have the festival hall up and running, we are obviously receiving booking inquiries for using the main hall and the festival hall essentially as one room adjoining. You can't realistically use both rooms for different purposes at the same time because they have a set of doors between them, they're not completely soundproofed. So what I'm asking the council to ratify is that rather than charging people who are inquiring about running events, etc., rather than charging them the room hire rate for the main hall and the atrium essentially separately, that actually if they take the 2 rooms combined, adjoining, that essentially rather than, if you imagine each room for round figures, you get charged 100%, rather than their bill then being 200%, it would actually be 130%. So there's a 1.5% increase in floor space when you have the atrium festival hall alongside the main hall, but that the charge would be 1.3 times, so a multiplier applied, so that, yeah, rather than paying, take round figures, £200, £100 for each room, you'd pay 130 to have them adjoining, because we can't use them for two separate purposes at the same time. I'm hoping the council will ratify that now, and there is, I'm working very hard with the operational lead for St Dunstan's House, the assistant town clerk and the responsible finance officer to bring what is probably a more modern hire charges sheet with incentives for hirers who want to use more than one room, and to make it more affordable for people using here as a venue. That's coming to Property and Assets, but what I'm asking now is for the council to ratify that 1.3 multiplier for using those two rooms at the same time, so we can crack on with bookings that are already in place.
Thank you. Well, I don't disagree with what you've worked out. That sounds a great workaround. I'm just concerned, if somebody does hire the festival hall, does that mean that nobody can hire the town hall at the same time? It just seems
It's not necessarily no one, but for instance, you couldn't have a party in one room and a talk or a meditation in the other because they're not soundproofed. It's not that it can never happen by means of we have a rule that it can't happen. It's just that the sound transference between the two, although the new doors are quite thick fire doors, they're obviously not completely soundproofed. It's more for the suitability of two different events happening that it might not work, rather than us just going, no, there's something in that room, you can't have it. If they were two quite quiet things happening, by all means you could do it at the same time. It's not a rule, it's just because of how the rooms are.
Thank you. Councillor Cook?
Yeah, thanks. Can I just ask what's the capacity, the legal capacity for?
So the main hall, seated 200, standing 300. The atrium seated, I believe, is just over 100, and standing, I can't recall off the top of my head, but when you combine them, so sat 300, standing probably about 400, 450 between them.
Yes, that's a fair price.
Thank you. Yes, somebody approached me saying that they had, I call it the atrium festival hall. They wanted to book it for a yoga class.
Okay.
And had been told that they couldn't. And I'm wondering, is that because of this problem that you're talking about now?
No, I don't believe.
I wasn't able to answer them.
No, I believe what that would have been was that the aerial yoga where they wanted to strap things to the new beams, and we said no because it would have marked the new beams in the atrium. It wasn't for any reason other than it just wasn't considered something that room was designed for. And also, if someone were to fall off of their aerial yoga equipment, that is a very hard stone and underneath concrete floor to fall onto. So it was for no other reason than we just considered it probably wasn't actually a suitable event to happen in that room. It was nothing to do with one thing happening and another thing not happening.
Okay, thank you for explaining.
Thank you, Chair. Presumably, if somebody wanted to book one of the separate rooms, rather than say that, and then there was something going on in the other room, you could just be advised to say, well, look,
absolutely,
you know, just to let you know there is going to be something going on, and then they can make their own decision.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. If someone, so for instance, say one group was having a talk in one room and another group wanted to have a talk or a meditation or something similar in the other room, of course, at the point of booking, we would advise them that something else is happening. Don't anticipate it being very noisy. Are you happy with that? Are you not? That would then be their choice. It wouldn't be refused just because something else is happening. It's just an operational concern, an operational matter that we have to take into account. That obviously, because we wanted the rooms at the very beginning to be adjoining and be able to flow between each space, they're obviously not soundproof because there's two sets of doors between them. If I can have a proposer and a seconder that we ratify that 1.3 multiplier and then a vote, that would be great.
Yeah, I could propose.
Councillor Smyth, second. All those in favour?
And as I said, the Property and Assets Committee are going to get an updated copy of the hire charges sheet that's probably will be a vast improvement.
Okay, the next item I believe is
withdrawn for the moment. It's been referred to next Tuesday after the planning meeting.
Okay, so that's neighbourhood first screen.
About 7:45. It will overlap with the beginning of the staff committee, but that is.
Your Worship.
Yeah.
Sorry, on the previous point with regard to booking, just like to say thank you very much for your email correspondence with myself. Would you mind if I reached out to the clerk to better understand some of those background issues?
Yeah,
If that's all right with you?
But basically, I just mentioned booking policy, complaints policy. So we had a couple of local people approaching about town hall.
Okay, what I would suggest is Councillor Cameron, you refer them to us to deal with, but okay.
No, that's what I said.
Right, okay.
Right. Resolutions and delegated committees, are there any?
Probably, Your Worship.
Councillor Cousin.
The Arts and Culture and Events Committee is first on the list. I decided to point out item 2 on the 31st of January, which I believe is a Saturday night. Is that right? We are having quite an evening of film, charity film screening in aid of Love Glastonbury, which is the wonderful group that look after the community fridge and pantry, etc. And we are going to be having the Glastonbury premiere of Kevin Redpath's new film called Glastonbury Tale, which is set to a piece of music by by a judge who was originally a member of Underground Generator, so it's quite an event. And that film is only about 35 minutes long, so there's quite a few other films that are going to be shown in the first part of the evening. But I would encourage councillors to come along, as it's going. The film screen is going to start with the pageant section of the original Alice Upton film from 1922, and go through a number of other things, including 2 wonderful films that Kevin made during the Last Man Standing campaign. I must say, whoever's playing the deputy in that second film is really great.
I believe it's a 6:30 start on the bar, and then 7:30 to 9:30 for the morning. Tickets on Eventbrite and register free for £6. I don't think there's any decision. Again, we're just going to.
So, are they noted, Your Worship?
Yes, thank you.
Cool.
The next one is updates from advisory committees and consider any recommendations for decisions.
Can I just say, Climate Emergency group didn't meet, committee didn't meet, but the Living Brew group continues to meet to organise March the 28th Living Brew Day.
The meeting is Thursday, aren't we?
Yes,
Yeah.
next meeting on the 15th.
Your Worship, unfortunately, the Mayor Plan Advisory Committee wasn't quorate on the meeting on 6th January. I send my apologies for not being there. Didn't help. But we are meeting again on the 20th, as Councillor Smythe, I think, mentioned earlier on. But I encourage all councillors who are members of that committee to attend, because it really is quite tight, and the time we need to get this off to Somerset is nigh, and we need to get the updated and approved plan after the meeting.
Thank you. I'll just make a general comment about people on committees. So please, if you can't make a committee, do send your apologies, because if we know we're not going to be quorate, we can shift the date.
Thank you. Just to remind
councillors at the neighbourhood planning committee is going to meet at 7:45, assuming that the planning committee is finished by then. That's on the 20th.
Anything else? Nothing for decisions? No. Okay. Unitary Councillor report. Hopefully you've got this, so thank you. Did we have anything from Councillor Hart?
Councillor Hart has sent me something via text message, which I haven't yet been able to get off of my phone and send round to you, but I will do it after the meeting.
This one that Councillor Cameron just sent us is well worth a read, and it includes some sort of caravan stats. So if you haven't read it, please do. It's interesting. So thank you very much for that. So yeah, this.
Could you just review the statistics on the caravans? Could you comment on them for the benefit of those that haven't had time to read the report? Particularly how many there are.
Yes, please, Your Worship, off the top of my head. Your Worship, councillors, I attended the caravan camp with council officers on the 22nd of December, and I was rather pleased that we only came across one new place that I was unaware of. So I think my fingers on the pulse. That said, what we've got at the moment is 217 caravans currently identified, and what we have seen is an increase and a decrease. It's been a bit zigzaggy. What I've asked for from officers is the total caravan count since 2020.
Yeah.
So therefore we can see that trajectory trend. And as you know, Your Worship, I have provided you with a draft, and I've asked for some other figures as well from officers from Somerset Council that I would wish to present to you in due course once that draft is complete. Is that answer?
Yeah. Could I just ask how many were empty?
Those were the total count. With regard to those that are empty, none of those are deemed to be empty. Those that are deemed to be empty are classified as abandoned vehicles, and are then reported to the environmental crimes colleagues, and are then stickers are put on there. Owners are given the opportunity to recover the vehicles, normally up to 2 weeks' notice. At the end of that 2 weeks' notice, they are then statutorily allowed to remove that abandoned vehicle, which I know that some colleagues have seen on social media that we have done. So we've removed 3 over the last 2 months, and 2 further ones only in the last 48 hours were reported as abandoned vehicles, which I know that the environmental crimes unit colleagues are looking into. So they then go and do an assessment. It's not as clear cut as abandoned. The reason why I say that is that some of those vehicles, which many of us around the table might consider abandoned, are used as shelter nonetheless by many of our homeless community. And so those officers do take a very subtle assessment as to whether those are occupied or not, having gone round the route with them.
Just for clarification, 117 in the parish of Glastonbury or in your constituency as a county council?
So this is within the Glastonbury boundaries. The one difference to that, or the one area that is not within our boundaries, is Watchwell Drove. That is included in the caravan count by the Somerset Council, Somerset officers, because they believe it's part of the envelope. And I'm in discussion with Councillor Clare on my opposite number over in Alton's on the Watchwell Drove numbers and issues as well.
Okay, LB, I think you were there.
I read your report, which I thought was excellent. I just have a memory that there was another 80 caravans in that whole park behind the Bailey's building, on top of the one on Sunday.
Yeah, you've mentioned that in here, the right to remain, etc. So that was mentioned.
It's a rough estimate. Sure. And whilst I personally have been on that site, and counted the actual Somerset council officers don't go on that site for obvious reasons.
Councillor Randall, would you?
Might do it.
No, the Aldi, Selina.
Yes, staying on the subject of caravans, but slightly different topic. I know Somerset Council are doing the enabling project of the Town Deal Fund to create a site, a temporary site for travellers. Do you know anything about that at all and what's happening with it?
So where we've got to is the same point as previously discussed by Councillor Liz Nation, which was 2 meetings ago, whereby she had approached legal officers within Somerset Council in order to determine the legality of the proposal. Unfortunately, what I can say is that that's been delayed, and the reason for that is that the legal officer that had been charged with doing that assessment moved on. It didn't get handed over, and Councillor Liz Nation just before Christmas had to resubmit the request. So that's where we are with that.
It's enough to drive on crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Councillor Dale, then Councillor Barnes. Yes,
So I'm a bit puzzled with the 80 people on the Warren's side.
I don't think there's that.
Isn't that what it said? 80?
80 caravans.
Yeah, but not people in them.
No. So I know of at least 4 caravans that are being used for waste and rubbish bags being put into them, etc. Yeah.
It sounded an awful lot more than
if we wish to use
about
that,
12 families or something.
yeah, the bottom line with that site is that if it is to be used as a meanwhile site, then some of those caravans will need to be removed because they are abandoned vehicles, etc. Hence why the 80 number is it's an estimate.
Yeah.
And on a slightly different topic, I've been sort of following what's happening outside the co-op with various people living in extreme distress and how they're dealt with by the street link, is it?
Yes, street link.
And what happens is that once they're homeless and they qualify, they go into a travelodge for 3 months, and they can't do an awful lot with their lives. They can't improve their lives by living in a travelodge. I'm just saying this because it's a kind of it's a stopgap thing. It's not a solution. That's all. And then they're kicked out again, and back to square one.
I agree, Your Worship. I have requested a meeting with Councillor Federica Smith up in Somerset Council in order to better understand the utilisation of that accommodation. And I was speaking to one gentleman at the Christmas lunch who informed me that he had been in that situation in Travelodge for a number of weeks, and his greatest regret with it all is that he had no facility to do any cooking himself beyond boiling a kettle. And so I totally agree with yourself that it's not actually the correct thing to do. Potentially.
And so we should really be thinking about a drop-in centre again, which has been kept off the agenda for decades, and really we should be looking at that, surely, in this town.
Councillor Osborne?
Yeah, I've got a bunch of questions, mainly pertaining to St John's car park. The first is, can you get this information for me, please? I've asked Susie, but she hasn't done it. How many season ticket holders there are for St John's? If the car park needs relining desperately, because you can't see there are little arrows, and me and one of the guys in the vans tried painting that, but it just comes off. So they need relining, and the entry and exit signs need putting up because people come in the exit, yes, and vice versa. And some kid from the primary school is going to be knocked over. The canopy is falling apart, and I'm only just here because light nearly hit me as I was parking. And is there ever going to be any chance of doing anything about the overnight stayers who are living there? Because people who live there and have bins get very distressed because their bins, which are only emptied every 3 weeks, get completely full by people who are living in the vans under the canopy. Okay, got it.
Thank you. It is a Somerset car park.
It is a Somerset car
If you
park.
could send me an email with all that, so much. Thank you.
Councillor Cousins. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for an excellent report. And this is in no way directed particularly at the Liberals or it's a Somerset issue really in its entirety. But I'm constantly saddened when I read about on page 6 you've got Somerset Council committed to addressing audit recommendations. And there's a section there, it says, an audit by the South West Audit Partnership revealed governance gaps related to the Red Brick Building Centre Limited, the parent body of the Black Factory, prompting the council to terminate funding. Well, whilst that is true, and I say this firmly acknowledging that I am a shareholder in the Red Brick building and also a member of the Town Hill Board. But when will I see in these sorts of reports Somerset admitting its own failure to due diligence around the project? We, as a town council, had a project here. We couldn't spend money without jumping through hoops. Due diligence was in place. Things were checked, balances. We had to do everything properly. I am also a director of the Hunt Energy. The same is applied to our Tandale project. We can't spend money without checks and balances and all sorts. Somerset put that due diligence in place around these projects. Why didn't it do that for the Red Brick building? And why isn't it saying, Culper, we are also partly responsible for this? Because at the moment, it looks like Somerset Council are continuing trying to Red Brick building under us.
Right, reply.
Thank you very much, Councillor Cousins. The Somerset Council has acknowledged their failures in public forum, and I'll be glad to provide those statements to colleagues. I just need to give them out. I don't carry them on that pocket. And with regard to the Red Brick building, now I've got to be very careful what I say here. I can assure you, and we're talking about the Duncan Sharkey sort of level, the CEO of the Somerset Council level, they absolutely do not want to throw any of our projects under the bus. They are fully aware of the love and also the determination of many of our projects, from Valley's Farm all the way through to the residents within the Red Brick building. I've had one conversation directly with Duncan Sharkey. I've got another one planned for the end of this week in order to communicate those human stories, because I'm not part of it, as you know, the process, but I am trying to communicate the human stories from the residents, from the businesses and from the charities to him, so he understands that and can actually factor that into the decision making. So please be assured that they're not trying to throw anyone in us.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for all that you do. It's very good to see you here. I wish our town councillor was here as well.
Thank you. Okay.
Sure.
Yes, please, Councillor.
Thanks, Jack. A regular question for Councillor Cottle this time of year about gully clearance. And I can report I did see a gully clearing vehicle this afternoon, so they do exist. I was just wondering when we can expect, because obviously at one point in the distant past they used to be done on a regular basis. And I believe they're done when they're needed. Well, obviously, when you see plants growing out of drains, you kind of think that's probably needed about now. And obviously, when we get these downpours like we have on this afternoon, and they're becoming more and more regular, obviously we need those drains cleared. So if we could look into that, I really appreciate it.
Your Worship, colleagues, and I think Colin will attest to this in so much as I did report only that on the top of the High Street only last week. So I can do it, but everybody else can do it as well. So please, if you do find any drains blocked, etc., please do report it. Otherwise, it can't be.
If you report it on the Somerset website, you can upload a photo and it gives you the Google Earth map. If you just put the tag there as well, if you put the details, they will essentially find it.
With that in mind, I have reported 3 street lamps that I've been working for a long, long time, and still nothing has happened. I reported them twice. So, I mean, I'm quite aware of that system, which is really good, user friendly, but is it just a case of waiting a little bit longer?
No, it's not. If you're not getting a response within the timeline that's described within the reporting process, please let me know, and then I will chase the Somerset Council officers, because they do have all their KPIs and everything, and they do try to achieve them. And sometimes it just takes a little bit of extra councillor room, and I'm more than willing to do that. I don't have done it in other areas.
Councillor Only do.
So, yes, in light of that, over the past 2 years, so we've been in Cottle, on Lake Mutton Road, there's 2 places where there's springs that come out and go down on the pavement, which they get lots of algae on them, which make them very, very slippery. And one of them is quite a steep point and quite close to where it's going around the corner. So it's very dangerous because people with pushchairs and old people have to step off the pavement on the road to get back onto the pavement so they don't fall over. Now, I've reported it on that website twice now.
Say that again, please.
I will report it again and I'll let you know at the same time, okay?
Yeah, no,
because I mean, to keep on reporting and keep it, it's like...
It's bonkers
Yeah.
to keep reporting. So I had a conversation with Highways today in relation to a different subject, and they reported to me that a single officer is dealing with 30,000 inquiries just for our area alone over a course of a year, and that's on one specific topic. Possibly. But what I'm trying to do with Somerset Council is understand where we are in the priority list. So I can then at least come back to residents and other councillors to explain where we are with it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the 2 links to the budget survey and the electric vehicle charge point survey. Where you put. Yeah. So I answered the survey, so it won't take very long at all. So it's a good idea to do so. And you can so the electric vehicle charge point is the on road charge point, which is quite a good one to do.
Thank you. Councillor Batch.
Thank you, Would this be an appropriate time to ask the county council what progress there is with the PSPO?
Yes, Worship, councillors, where we are is so I've asked whether we should have a further update with our Member of Parliament and also the Somerset Councillors overseeing the whole of the antisocial behaviour and PSPO proposals in February, in mid-February sort of time frame. The reason for that is that the new officer who's just been employed, the one that I referred to as coming from Glastonbury, but actually came from Gloucester, he only came into place 6 days ago. He's the one who's going to be drafting the PSPO and other mechanisms for antisocial behaviour, oversight and order, and we hope to get something written from him and proposals by mid-February, hence the requirement I suggest having a further update as we had with Sarah Dyke, etc. What was it? I think it was back in October, wasn't it?
Thank you.
So that's what I've proposed.
Thank you. Thanks.
If I could just labour the point for another moment, because people keep asking me and I don't know what to say to them. And my understanding is that we asked for PSPO back in the early summer, and so they said, why does it take this long? And I did compose a quite sarcastic letter in which I compared this process to cheese making. The cheese making is a chemical reaction. You put the cheeses underground, and anybody can understand why it takes a long time to make cheese. Because it's constant. At that speed, the chemical reactions must take place. It's not hard to understand. It's quite difficult to understand when you're dealing with an abstract entity, which is not visible. You can't weigh it, you can't measure it. It's just, can we have PSPO? Yes.
this or no?
Thank you, councillor. So Somerset decided they would do a county-wide.
What's too much?
No. They would do a county-wide survey. Some towns wanted, some towns didn't. There wasn't an officer, and now there is. Thank you. Okay. Are there any comments from lead councillors and representatives of the council? Councillor Bambi.
Yes, I think it's probably the best place to mention it. We did receive quite a serious and aspiring proposal, which I just have to ask the council to consider in some way in appropriate form. I've got a sort of conflict of interest because I'm the director of the PLC, Building Construction Centre. It's hardly a pecuniary interest, it's every day get paid. It's just a proposal worthy of consideration in the appropriate place.
Okay. I'd like to second that.
Okay, thank you.
There is a vote.
And we're not voting on it, it's just a subcommittee to consider it. Councillor
Thank you, just curiosity, what committee would this, if it was going to go to a committee, what committee would it go to?
It's going to the staffing committee initially because it will impact whether we employ a member of staff or not.
Okay, great, thank you.
Councillor, please.
I wonder whether the staffing committee would like to be, if we could promote the date of that staffing committee meeting to all councillors, so that perhaps any of us who are interested in this proposal could attend that meeting to observe, just so that we understand the way that things are going. My feeling is that we have had quite a few people fulfil the role within the information centre, and this seems to me, just from reading it briefly tonight, like a very useful, mindful approach to resolving an issue that perhaps if we keep doing something wrong, keep doing something in the same way, and we keep getting the same results, we might be doing the wrong thing. This might be an alternative to that. That's what I think.
Yeah, I would just very much like to support what John Cousins has said. I'm quite concerned about the fact that we keep on having the managers resigning, and so there's something wrong at the system level rather than the person level. One or two people, it might be people, but when it becomes 3, 4, 5, it's a system level. So maybe a change in direction, as is offered by this proposal, might well be something that resolves the problem. I'd really like to support what Councillor Cousins has said with this.
Yeah, well done.
I think the staffing committee is on the 20th, although you can't correct me.
Yeah, I will check and I'll circulate it to councillors.
That's a planning committee.
I will check when it is and I will circulate it to councillors.
Did you have another comment, Councillor? No, thank you. Okay, is that it? Yes, okay. Right, mayor's announcements. The only other one I've got is the Holocaust Memorial event, which is on Tuesday, 27th of January. Those who are going to be here, say 10:30 outside the town hall. Some of the schools are interested in sending a couple of pupils from each. We'll just go to the Peace Pub at St Francis Car Park and do some quiet things with the children. So, did you discuss that at high school?
Peace committee is tomorrow night.
Is there anything else going to be said?
Is that 10:30 at the preschool?
10:30 outside, so I'll be going down on the balcony. The children can come to 3 schools. We'll then just walk there to the car park. They'll do something, maybe like put little cardboard candles or something. 27th is Tuesday.
Yeah. Can I just say that generally it's customary for the Holocaust remembrance for people to wear purple? I don't know if you want them to do that.
Anything else? No? Okay. Any correspondence, communications, announcements?
Not from me, Your Worship.
Presumably we're going to send a leaflet up to the residents explaining the precept again, as we usually do.
Yes.
That would be a good thing. I'll be very happy to help them drafting the words.
Okay.
Just to make it clear where the increases are coming from, because we often get criticised for increases that we're not responsible for.
I wish I'd following on from what Councillor Spine said, I think it would be worth pointing out that the retail price index or whatever gone by 3.8% over the last year. So actually 5% isn't really 5%, is it? We should mention the fact that that 3.8% takes up quite a considerable chunk of the increase.
Did you hear anything else, Councillor? No.
It was just an observation that we would like the next item on the agenda was about the newsletter.
Yeah.
And whether that was the opportunity to get the information out about the precept, or if the time was right, because obviously we just get it all right in one.
Yeah. Are we on a pause with that, with the quarterly newsletter?
The precept information leaflet and the quarterly newsletter are different, and we are hoping that when we advertise the agreed contract for the communications role, which will go out very soon, that actually that will be one of the things that that person takes on. But the actual precept information leaflet gets distributed to households, whereas the quarterly newsletter does not. They are separate.
Thank you.
There's no harm me referencing the precept information leaflet in the quarterly newsletter, and obviously having it will be on the website, but the precept information leaflet is different.
Okay, thank you.
On that point, can we make sure that we meet the deadline for the letter to go out with Somerset's demand for it?
Somerset will not include our leaflet in the council tax demand because it's too complicated a process to only put in our leaflet to the bills going to Glastonbury. We have to distribute it separately. It normally arrives at the beginning of March, so I will need to book the Royal Mail. I need to design it, print it, and have it distributed for either then or just before.
Beginning of March?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other items for news releases or quarterly newsletter? Indra.
Sorry, is it too early to put out the buses to Avalon Marshes? Is it too early to say anything about that?
Is our next newsletter involved?
I've noted it either way, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you. Right. Actions arising from this meeting. We're almost there,
I have taken an action that the feedback on the CCTV report I will provide to Somerset Council, and we will seek to I'll ask them to seek to provide better information in future. The council has tonight agreed the budget and the therefore precept for next year, so that will factor into a release on the website, and also for the leaflet which I will design, have printed and book the distribution. You've agreed the multiplier for the booking policy, which will come in as a change for the booking policy immediately, with property and assets taking a greater review of it in just over a week's time. And any other of the general operational actions I've noted, but they're the ones that require a particular response, Your Worship.
Thank you very much indeed. So thank you everybody for coming. Date of the next meeting is the 10th of February, and I declare the meeting closed.
Right there.
Thank you.